Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in for our regularly scheduled meeting of the Operations Management Budget and Government Accountability Committee for today, May 16th. My name is Councilman TJ Clark. I'm the City Council's Majority Leader and also serve as the co-chair for OMBGA. And I'm also joined by Councilwoman Surgeon, who is a member of the committee, and Councilman Gale has logged off, but he will be shortly logging on, and he's also a member of the OMBGA committee. We have quite a bit of items to discuss in our agenda, and we are also here with our Corporation Counsel, Attorney Howard Rifkin. We do have representatives of our Procurement Department. Ms. Littman, I believe is your name.
It's Michelle Harrison.
Harrison.
Yeah.
My goodness, I'm so sorry. We just formally met.
It's okay. It was my maiden name. It was my maiden name
Okay.
when I first started.
Michelle Harrison, our Procurement Division Director, is here along with other members of the city's administration. But we're going to get started. We're going to go with item 1 on our agenda, which is Mayor Bronin budget message and recommended general fund budget and capital improvement program ordinance of appropriation for general fund, ordinance concerning appropriation in the capital improvement fund, ordinance tax levy on list of October 1st, 2021, which was item 3.1 on the April 25th agenda. This also did have a public hearing, which was Tuesday, April 26th at 6 o'clock, and wanted to also for the record, indicate that our Corporation Counsel did send out to all of us a substitute ordinance for the tax levy, the CIP, and the tax levy in the CIP. So the items that we will be discussing for tonight in this committee are the substitute ordinances. Any questions? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion for passage of this to our next council committee meeting.
I so moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Councilwoman Surgeon and second by Council President Rosado, who also is the co-chair of the committee, to move this item favorably to the next council meeting, which Howard, for the record, do we have to indicate the actual date?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think that the recommendation would be to refer this to the special council meeting called for this evening at 7:30.
Councilwoman Surgeon, do you want to amend your motion?
Yes. Before I amend, so would this, by approving this now, how would it be enough time for notices to go out for the amendment for the council meeting tonight?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I think so, because in fact, it's my understanding that the meeting will be convened and recessed to Wednesday, the 18th. And in fact, it is most likely that the 3 ordinances to implement the budget won't be taken up until your regular council meeting on the 23rd.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that on the 18th, the council will consider the various financial and non-financial resolutions that members want to approve, and then there will be a back and forth process between the council and the mayor, and then hopefully we'll all get finalized on the 23rd.
Thank you, Howard. So I amend my motion to favorably send the 2 ordinances to the May 16th council meeting at 7:30.
I think it's 3 ordinances, sorry.
3, it's 3?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
the ordinance of appropriation for general fund.
And CIP. Okay, so
And
amending
the tax
3
levy.
ordinance. So it's three ordinance, Mr. Chair. To the May 16th council meeting favorably.
I second the motion to move these items to the special meeting of May 16th at 7:30. And for the record, all these items have been noticed for the meeting that's scheduled for May 18th. We will reconvene and take up all of these three items for the record, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Councilwoman Surgeon, and it's been seconded by co-chair Rosado. And just to reiterate, without having any confusion, there is a special meeting that was noticed, and it's going out for May 16th, today, 7:30. And the proper procedure, as what Council President and Co-Chair Rosado was talking about, is that this meeting tonight at 7:30 will be recessed, which is a normal procedure of the council for Wednesday, May 18th, for time to be determined, where the council will reconvene from the recessed meeting from tonight to discuss the budgetary items, which are the three items that we've made a motion on. Any other discussions?
None by me.
All right, having seen or heard no other discussions, all in favor of this item indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposals? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Also, too, want to acknowledge Councilman Gale, who's joined us, who's a voting member, and Councilwoman Tiana Hercules, who has joined us as a voting member as well. Okay, item number 2, Mayor Bronin with a company resolution approving the tentative agreement for a successor collective bargaining agreement between the City of Hartford and Local 1716, which was item 4.1 on the April 25th, 2022 agenda. And I believe we have our Deputy Corporation Counsel, Alexandra Lombardi.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So just briefly to go over the tentative agreement, it's a relatively simple one. Provides for a retroactive wage increase to January 1 of 2022 of 2% for all 1716 members, and then 2.5% GWIs effective July 1, 22, and then again July 1, 23. It changes the funding of our employer contribution to the HSA from quarterly to semi-annual, and that was at the request of the union, whose membership was seeking more funds up front when the fiscal year begins in order to address any medical needs rather than have it deposited on a quarterly basis. So that's a cost neutral change that 1716 members requested. The item relating to the emergency telecommunications call taker position was essential to the City of Hartford and essential to our 911 department. And that is because the call taker position takes less training to prep for. And so, as you all may know, when someone's hired into emergency services and telecommunications as a dispatcher, they do have to undergo lengthy and rigorous training, which meant that when someone came into the door, it was a long time before they could actually start taking calls. And there is a national shortage with respect to dispatchers, and we are having some staffing shortages in that department, for which this piece of the tentative agreement was vital in order to be able to address and make sure that our department is fully staffed in that regard. Finally, under other, that first bullet and all of the subsections underneath it are really language cleanup changes to clarify things or incorporate separate MOUs or understandings into the collective bargaining agreement, just to have everything in one place. And then the final bullet under other is a committee that will have city and union representatives meet in the first quarter of each calendar year, just to review job descriptions, to make sure that they're constantly being reviewed for accuracy, making sure they're up to date, and then bargaining over any changes that the parties see fit. And that's the agreement in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Attorney Lombardi?
No, Mr. Chair, I think the agreement was very straightforward. No questions, sir.
Councilman Gale.
Do I have a mic?
Yes, you do, sir.
Okay.
All right.
On that last point about reviewing the job descriptions, I know this came up when we were talking to our Human Resources Department, that many of our job descriptions may be fairly out of date. Is this provision that's incorporated in here designed to address what we've been told are out of date job descriptions through the Human Resources Department?
This will certainly be one avenue, Councilman Gale. So it will occur in the first quarter of each calendar year that each side can identify job descriptions that they believe are out of date, sit at the table, determine if both sides agree, and then bargain over any necessary changes. Of course, each side is still free following that meeting at any other time in the year to bring up to the other side, whether it be the union or the city, any other job descriptions that they've identified out of date, and ask that they sit down and bargain those changes as well. So this is a way of formalizing that it will at least occur once a year. But certainly either side, if it identifies a job description in need of updating after that meeting occurs in a calendar year, they wouldn't be foreclosed from going to the opposite side and saying, hey, we see this, we think it needs a change, will you sit down with us? The only difference is technically the other side can say no. But we have good working relationships with our unions, and the hope would be that it would be a mutually beneficial and acknowledged change, and we can get that done.
Is this type of agreement in our other union contracts, or is this new with this particular contract?
I believe this is unique to this contract, but I would have to double check.
It's interesting because there's been some conversation about, having a complete overhaul of job descriptions with HR to get more current in these things. And it sounds like by inserting this in this particular union contract, if you did something similar with other union contracts, would sort of help us get on our way to doing that all on its own. Anyway, I think it's great that it's in there. It sounds like it's a positive move. So it's my only question. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions, comments from my colleagues? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Move to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made by Councilman Gale, a second by Co-Chair Rosado to send this item back to council with a favorable recommendation. Any other discussions?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Corporation Counsel, you shall.
Just to remind the members of ONBGA, in fact, the council as a body to affirmatively approve this contract would have to do so by the 21st of May. You obviously do not have a meeting scheduled until the 23rd. So voting on this would be an expression of this committee and the members participating that they support the agreement, but would not be, but ultimately the agreement would go into effect after the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. Corporation Counsel, duly noted. Councilman Gale, you have the floor.
Just a question for Corp Counsel, picking up on that. One of the things that our committees do from time to time when we want to take quicker action on something is to discharge it back to council. Is it conceivable that this could be discharged to the special meeting that's going to occur a little bit later tonight?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Councilman Gale, unfortunately not, because by charter, a special meeting agenda has to be noticed, and we cannot add that matter to a special meeting of the council at this point.
Councilwoman Surgeon.
That was my question, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Corporation Counsel, I have a question. Since we are planning on reconvening Wednesday after our special meeting tonight is recessed. Could we possibly take up this item on Wednesday?
Mr. Chair, unfortunately not, because the reconvened meeting would be the reconvened special meeting for which an agenda notice was provided, and you can't amend the agenda.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Okay, I think we had a motion made in second. All right, we were in discussion. All right, any other discussions? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposals, any abstentions? Hearing none, the ayes have it, and this item has been passed. Moving on, item number 3, Mayor Bronin with accompanying ordinance amending section 32-18 of the municipal code, which was item 6.1 on April 25th, 2022 agenda, which has a public hearing tonight on, which is May 16th at 7 p.m. And I believe we have our city assistant, Mr. John Phillip, who is here to present.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, do I have a mic?
Your mic is loud and clear, sir.
Oh, okay. So hi, thank you all. So this is the annual update for our elderly credit ordinance. I apologize. There were 2 mistakes in the version that I sent up to the mayor's office. They were my mistakes. I have no idea how that happened, but we've got to update the grand list year in effect from 2020 to 2021. And I've requested that the income limits be reset to mirror those that HUD put out for this year. So, and that's medium to low income. And this year we're asking to raise the gross income threshold for unmarried people from $54,950 to $55,950, and for a married couple from $62,800 to $63,950. It's there that I neglected to change the number description in subsection 4 of A. And that's it for proposed changes. It's, for you folks to do with what you want.
Thank you, Mr. Phillip. So just for the record, that technical error, can you just repeat what the actual amounts should be?
The problem, so for an unmarried person, it is, I'm sorry, I went down too far. For an unmarried person, it is $55,950. That's okay as written. And for a married couple, it is $63,950. That is okay when it's spelled out alphabetically, but it is not okay. I apparently inadvertently left last year's guidelines in the numeric expression of that number.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from my council colleagues? Councilman Gale, you have the floor.
Thank you. So John, I think we've asked this before. There's a price tag to this tax relief program. And I think you're probably going to talk tomorrow. I don't know if we're still on tomorrow night. You're going to talk tomorrow night about the price tag.
Yep.
For this.
I can tell you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Ty, that's what I want to know, what the increase in the price tag is.
Well, Councilman, I can't tell you that yet because we won't be calculating the benefits until we have a mill rate. But I don't, so last year was 343,000. There were, I believe, 458 recipients. We should have, yes, we should have at least the number of recipients in our system. I can get that to you. I'll get that for tomorrow night. But I do know that last year's cost was closer to almost 344,000.
And is it accurate that the benefit is a $500 tax credit? So that would mean if your property tax bill was $2,000, this would give you a credit of $500, and you would only pay $1,500 for your property tax.
That is right in most cases. Exceptions are if the property is partially owned by the applicant, it's prorated by the portion of their ownership. And there's also a cap so there's a state program and the state required program, and there's the local option. And in the local option ordinance, there's a cap that the sum of both of those two cannot exceed 75% of what the taxes otherwise would be. And so there are a couple that their benefit is prorated because they have an inexpensive condominium where the taxes aren't particularly high, and they're eligible for a state benefit, which can go higher than 500 and often does. And so when you add them up, you can be more than 75% of what the taxes otherwise would be.
And that $500 benefit, which I guess is $1,500 if it's four units.
Right. There's only a couple of those left.
Okay. That was set in 1992 and hasn't been revisited since then?
I think it may have been set before that, but I know it's been a long time. I tried to go through the I think that the program was first put into place in, I believe, 1982. And there's discussion in the council record about the original benefit. And I think it did, in fact, land at $500 then.
So it could be 40 years now. We've had
it could be 40 years. It's at least 30.
So perhaps for tomorrow night, I would be interested in knowing what the cost to the city would be if the $500 benefit were to be increased to, say, $750. I don't know,
Okay.
Straight math on the 343 goes up by 50%, or probably a little bit more complicated than that.
Yes, I think we probably have a fair number of new applicants this year. There's been, given the revaluation, there's been a fair amount of interest.
And I guess if it's easy enough, maybe you could do it, show us what it would be at 750 and show us what it would be at 1,000.
Sure.
Thank you. No other questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Surgeon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. And going along with the same questions that Councilman Gale starts with, John, if you could also give us the ordinance starts at 4 dwellings, as you said, and up. And what would it be if you went down to property with 3 dwellings?
So right now, it's limited to residential property, but the owner has to live there. And residential property, which is 1, 2, 3 family houses and individually owned condominium units, that's the $500 benefit we've been talking about. We put the 4-family provision for $1,500. We put that in the wake, or actually prior to implementation of the 2011 revaluation. The reason for that is 4 family properties had always been treated as prior to 2011, and the law changed then. 4 and 5 family properties had been treated as residential property, and they were taken. And in Hartford, there was additional assessment protection for residential property beyond these credits. The law that dictates how we assess real estate in Hartford, in 2011, 4 and 5 families were removed from the protected status and put into apartment status, and their taxes like tripled in the course of 5 years. So that's how that, and real, I think there's only 2 left, 1 or 2. I mean, not many there aren't that many 4-family houses in the city. A lot of them have actually been converted to 3-family properties, physically converted to get favored assessment treatment. And those that are left typically are not owner occupied. So that's why we have so few of them. There were more once upon a time.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So, John, can a person qualify for both the state and the city's tax relief?
The city's income limits are generally higher than the state's. They are higher than the state's, and so there are a fair number of, I think there's more than 100 that qualify for the city's program and not for the state, but many that do qualify for one qualify for both.
And so when you come to market, you tell us how many, yeah. So you said we had about 400. I'm sorry?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. The average benefit is 458, and that was the number I said. There are actually 751 participants in the city program last year. The state program last year, we had 615. So that, 135 person difference is because our income limits are higher.
Right, okay. And you said, not sure if, what sort of response have you gotten this year? Is there an increase in the response this year?
Well, I personally took an awful lot of phone calls, so I'm expecting we have a significant increase in those that have applied.
And when is the deadline cut off on this again?
It was Friday. However, there is a provision in statute for somebody. So I think it was 2 years ago, we asked for a change to have our local ordinance mirror the state statute for the state credits, where there is a provision for granting an extension for cause. With the state program, they have to apply to the Office of Policy and Management prior to August 15th. And they have to present a doctor's note. And our local ordinance now mirrors that process, only they come to me, they don't have to go to OPM.
Right. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Councilwoman. Want to recognize Councilwoman Marilyn Rossetti, who has joined us as well. Any other questions for Mr. Phillip? Councilman Gale, you have the floor.
It's not for Mr. Phillip. I think I saw Jen Hockenhull on here. And so this would be a question for her, I believe. In our budget book, specifically on page 6.3, there is seemingly built into our tax collections this elderly tax credit. And I see a line item there, says elderly tax adjustments, and in last year's budget, it was set at 400,000, which is an overestimate for what Mr. Phillip just told us was a cost of 343,000 to the budget. And I see that this year it's set at 750,000. And my question is, if council were to take action to increase the this credit, say, just by way of example, if council said this credit should go up from $500 to $750, and Mr. Phillip tells us tomorrow that that cost of that program will be about $600,000 to the city of Hartford, can I assume that this means this doesn't affect the budget at all at this point, given that you've built in $750,000 as the amount of cost for these credits?
Good evening, through you, Chair. Thank you for the question, Councilman Gale. Talking with John Phillip, I think we put it at 750 because more people were actually applying for the credit this year, but it sounds like I would have to confer with John, but I would believe that that would probably cover it unless there's something that that I'm missing here. We can definitely report on that tomorrow, Councilman.
Thank you.
Hey, any other questions for our budget and finance team? None? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion.
Move to send this back with a favorable recommendation.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Corporation Counsel. Yes.
You can't move it out of committee yet because the public hearing is scheduled
Right.
for 7 o'clock tonight. So
Thank you, sir.
Motion withdrawn.
And
That's my fault.
through you, Mr. Chair, if we want to make any adjustment to this, at what point can you do so? Have another special committee meeting?
Mr. Corporation Counsel.
The chair and I spoke earlier today, and my recommendation, because the effective date of this is July 1st, even though there is this application extension, that the co-chairs of the committee discharge this item back to council for when we set the agenda on Wednesday. It will be after the public hearing. And then at the council meeting on the 23rd, you could take up any amendments you want to offer to the proposed ordinance.
Thank you.
For that clarification. Okay, Councilman Gale has withdrew his motion. The chair will entertain a different motion.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I don't think you need a motion.
Okay.
Because there isn't anything you can do with this item other than to take in the awesome knowledge of our city assessor, and then hopefully take this up at your council meeting of the 23rd.
Okay, thank you for that correction. So therefore, this item stays in committee and no further action is required until the public hearing takes place, till after the public hearing takes place, which is tonight.
And
I'm sorry, I always thought that we should actually postpone it until the public hearing. But what you're saying is we just don't have to take any action. We just keep it as is.
Yes, that's correct. I mean, generally, you wouldn't have had any conversation about this item, except that John was here to answer questions. But the item will be before the public hearing, and then, as I said, my recommendation would be for the co-chairs to discharge this as part of the agenda for the 23rd.
Duly noted. Thank you again. All right. With that being said, item number 4, a resolution creating a microgrant program for Hartford residents seeking to launch a small business in the city of Hartford, which was item number 7.1 on April 25th, 2022 agenda. And I believe that the maker of the resolution has requested that this resolution be postponed until our next scheduled meeting next month.
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Council President. Would you like to offer a motion to postpone?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to postpone this item till our next OMBGA meeting.
Second.
The motion has been made by Council President Rosado and seconded by Councilman Gale to postpone this item to next month's meeting. Any other discussion of this? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposals, any abstentions? Hearing and seeing none, the ayes have it. This item is postponed until next month's OMBGA meeting. The next resolution on our agenda, item number 5, resolution calling for monthly capital improvement plan CIP reports and monthly updates on RFPs over 25,000 issued by the Procurement Department, item 4.4 on May 9th, 2022 agenda. And being one of the sponsors of the resolution, we do have our procurement director on. And could you just let us know about the CIP and RFP process?
Okay, so the CIP portion is more for Nat Gale. Tonight, I'm actually speaking to the resolution as far as the report that you guys had. I'm sorry, I'm new to the whole city council things. I'm from the private world, so you just have to just give me a second. I'm trying to get used to the process.
That's okay.
Thank you. So I actually just ran a report, just again, in response to what you all were asking as far as that 25,000, any bid or RFP that's above the 25,000, which is how we go out to bid competitively. Anything under 25,000, it could be 3 competitive quotes. It can be any like emergency purchases. It can be waiver of competition. It just really depends on the circumstance. So I actually, if you don't mind, Mr. Majority Leader, I would like to present this report because I'm actually trying to get an idea as to exactly what you all are looking for when we send these monthly reports to you, if you don't mind.
Thank you for that. What I actually had in question was in mind rather is the fact that, historically City Council has not received any reports or notifications when RFPs go out for public bidding. Oftentimes when there's a number of RFPs that are released, myself and many other of my colleagues do not know exactly what the actual bid is or who are the bidders and what the bid is for, any of that information, because they do look to us for some type of guidance and a better understanding. So in order for us to effectively do our job, this is why I wanted to put this resolution in so that we can start to have a generated report on the type of RFPs that are going out that actually has the deadline and other important information as well. And understanding the fact that 24,999 threshold, as you just indicated, it falls within the departments and other emergency purchase orders. And I know I myself not necessarily want to concentrate on that, but more so on the other items that actually, we can see what's going on, because, we're still interested in, the minority set aside and minority preference and Hartford base preference as well. So these are some of the things that, would like to really focus on and to see how we're faring on that, and just to get a good observation and idea as to what's being sent out of your department. Now, I know you can't speak on the CIP side, but it's the same notion for the CIP, which actually I authored a non-financial resolution for our last budget session for us to receive these monthly CIP reports. So it's not just you that you're looking to get information from. There's other departments as well, and the finance director is on here, and she sends out a report to us as well, which is, I believe, started by way of council resolution, so that we can start to get more kept up to date as to the city's finances.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, I don't know if this is appropriate, but I would like to, can I share my screen with you all?
Yes, you should have that. You should be able to.
Okay, excellent.
Good evening, Councilman. It's Leanne Rawls. I'm calling in from out of state. I'm at the Munis conference in Indianapolis, but the finance department is willing to provide whatever report you're looking for. I will just state that the management of capital projects now falls under Nat Gale. So I would imagine that he would be the one that would be the first contact for this report, but we're willing to assist Nat in any way possible for you.
Thank you, Leanne, for that assistance.
And actually, I was trying to share my screen, but it's saying that host disabled participant screen sharing. So basically, my report, it basically lists the date that the bid or RFP was posted. It lists the buyer's name. So therefore, if you guys have a question, ladies and gentlemen, have a question in regards to who put out the bid and specific details, you can contact those specific buyers. It has the invitation numbers. It also has the commodity codes, and what the commodity codes do, they vet vendors to establish the notifications based on technical trades. So therefore, vendors or contractors that the RFP does not apply to, it's not going to send that notification to them. And then this report also has the project title and description. So, i.e., it could be a case management system, it can be a swimming pool repair, it can be janitorial services specific to the early learning centers, air compressors, anything like that.
Just want to interrupt you briefly. Yes. Try to share your screen again.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I have so much open.
Mr. Chair, through you, could I ask a quick question while she's putting up her report?
You have the floor.
So my question is, and I'm sorry because I'm having problems with my Wi-Fi. I don't know if she answered this. The report that she's gonna show on the screen, are those all of the current RFPs we have open within the city of Hartford?
Okay, so this is really just an example because of the resolution, asking for the monthly status report. So basically, I just wanted to bring something to you just to give you an idea of what you would receive. And also, I wanted to just, request more information from you all if you want to see additional items or information on this report. So can you all see my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So this again, so this is right now, this was ran for the quarter. So that was ran from January to April. Again, this is just an example. It's not, this would be based on if you say, hey, we want a quarterly, we want a monthly, we can run it however way you want to run it. This is a quarterly report that I just ran. So this is the date that the actual RFP was posted to our Planet Bid system, which is, the system that we use in order to solicit to vendors and, contractors. The next column is the buyer's name again. So therefore, you would know exactly, who posted it and if there's any questions or comments in regards to what was posted. Therefore, you know who that contact is. The invitation or bid number is the next column. And as I explained to you before, the next column is the commodity codes. Again, so for instance, let's just take case management system. This was the project or description that the PM was trying to solicit for. So now our commodity codes, as you can see in this column, are computer and software stores, computer, office, machine repair. So basically any one that handled any type of computer systems or softwares, that's what the commodity codes, it would pull or it would send those invitations to those type of bidders. So obviously if it was a case management system, it's not going to ask someone who does plumbing and heating to, you know, or invite them to bid on this particular service. And then it just gives the due date. So this particular one, let's go back, that was posted April 25th, and the due date for that one, which would be the same as the closing date of the bid, would be 5/17/2022. Right now, as you can see, this will be the status of whatever that bid is. So as you can see, this columns, there are some that are still in bidding. Like obviously tomorrow is the last day for this to close out. This particular one was canceled. Actually, it was actually reposted, and that would be this one above. Or another status may be closed, which means obviously the bidding process for this one was May 5th, and now it's in a review process. The next column will be the type, which would be bids, RFPs, or whatever have you on here. You do have status as far as award pending, awarded. Obviously, that would be the award recommendation was signed and it went out, and the contractor vendor was notified at that point in time. So I think that's it. So I don't know if there's any question as far as these reports, but I mean, I welcome you to just let me know exactly what additional information you may be looking for when receiving these reports. So therefore, you know, we can draw that information into the report and give you, you know, something that will work for you.
Thank you for that presentation. I know I would actually be interested to see, far as those code items, what the actual amounts are for each of those items. I know we do know there's over 25,000.
Right. So the tricky part is for the on-call. So we may have a budget, but like for services like professional services, it's kind of hard because like on-call is, you know, per task. So you may have what the rate per hour or the rate per trying to see like per service. So on-call engineers have certain services that they provide. So you may get those rates, but those RFPs are not solely based on pricing. They're based on qualifications, they're based on proximity, they're based on experience, they're based on references, versus like the bids. The bids are solely, which are more like construction services, miscellaneous services. Those are solely based on the prices. So those to where, you know, we can definitely give you that. But I mean, we can give you what the budget is, and then the thing about, like I said, with the professional services, we may have to, towards the end, give you what the ultimate price was, because again, those prices can be negotiable as far as professional services, because we're not solely looking or awarding based off of the price. It can be a selection criteria, so we can, you know, the selection committee can have that as far as one of their areas to look for, but it's usually the qualifications, the references, and, you know, those items.
I think the selection items are good, especially if you indicated like far as the particular selections, whether they're a Hartford-based business, minority certified, whether it's through the city or state, and whatever other preference that you all are bidding for or looking for in response to the RFP.
Okay. Sounds good.
I don't want to dominate this. Any other questions from my council colleagues? Councilman Gill, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions. Just wondering on this spreadsheet, I like the concept. The numbers in the third column, I'm looking at, they say like 6079, whatever, 609. I take it these are the actual RFPs themselves, how you identify. Is it possible that when you create this report for us, that could be a link that if we clicked on it, it would take us right to the RFP?
Thank you for that question, Councilman Gale. I'm not sure, but I definitely can look into it to see if I can get it to link to that. So therefore, it can just bring you to the whole bid or the whole RFP, and you can see what the scope of work is and those particular items.
Well, that would be great if you could do that. And then just kind of piggybacking on Majority Leader's comments. Once the contract is awarded, is it possible to give us the name of the awardee? And I know that some of these contracts are going to be fixed dollar amounts and others are going to be, like you said, maybe an hourly rate for professional services or something else. I'm just wondering if it's possible to not only give us the awardee, but name, but also either the contract amount or some shorthand for what the contract, what the contract provided.
I think that is more possible, again, as you're saying, at the award, the status as far as when it's in award, when it has been awarded, because at that point, we have already reviewed what the price is going to be, and we know what the price is going to be. We know who the vendor is going to be. So I believe that's more possible at that stage.
That would also be great. So if you can give us who the vendor is, who you've awarded it to, and to Councilman Clark's question, if I don't know that with an asterisk to indicate it's a Hartford-based business or a minority business or fitting within one of our preferred categories.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
No problem, Councilman. You're welcome. Ms. Harrison, could you just explain to us, because I know this probably differs from RFP to RFP, who makes up the selection panel?
It usually is the PM, the department that the the solicitation request is being made from. So if it's DPW and say it's the architect from DPW, so usually they would be the ones that would say who was on that selection committee.
Thank you. And is there anybody outside of those departments? I'm sure it's probably maybe somebody from your department, but any other departments such as like HR or finance or the administration?
It can be, i.e. say if it was like an occupational health type of thing, then yes, you may want the HR department on there. You may want the finance department, procurement department. However, our buyers aren't usually ones who weigh in on the selection, if you get what I'm saying.
I got what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Council President Rosado.
Actually, Mr. Majority Leader, you my questions have been asked. Thank you. Have been answered.
Okay,
Thank you.
gotcha. Any other questions from my colleagues? Okay, seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm just wondering, since we didn't hear about the CIP part of this, do you want to continue this to another? I mean, I'm happy to send it back, but maybe we'd like to continue it to another OMB GA meeting and get find out what the CIP side of this report would look like on a monthly basis.
Point well taken.
And if so, I'd be happy just to move to postpone this to the next meeting.
And I'll second the motion.
Councilman, is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion to postpone it to the next meeting of this committee.
And I'll
And
second the motion.
okay, motion has been made by Councilman Gale and has been seconded by Council President Rosado to postpone this resolution till next month's meeting so that we can take care of the second part of the resolution, which is regarding the CIP. Any other discussions? All right, seeing that there is none, all in favor of postponing this item indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposals, abstentions? Hearing none, seeing none, the ayes have it. This item is postponed until next month. Okay. Seeing that we don't have any other business to discuss of the OMBGA committee, this meeting is now adjourned. So thank you very much for all who are participating. Thank you to our viewing audience on Hartford Public Access TV.org and to Comcast, Xfinity, and to Frontier and the Frontier channels. Continue to be safe, stay healthy, and we will see you if you want to stay on. We'll see you at 7 o'clock for a public hearing. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Good night.